The secret broadcast from Earth's The Galactic Council Hall was never silent, not even during war declarations or peace treaties, but today as the screen in the center glowed with a red emergency symbol, not a single alien dared to breathe. The message had come from Sector 92, classified as Primitive Observation Zone, also known as Earth. That sector had no major weapons, no interstellar travel, and no contact missions approved, so when a warning beacon appeared, it sent waves of confusion and alarm across the council. The image flickered, then stabilized. A Zorian war captain, face bruised and eyes wide with terror, stared into the lens. His voice cracked, something unheard of from the proud Zoran military. "Do not go to Earth," he said. "Do not engage the humans. I am begging you." The room buzzed with murmurs until the Speaker of the Council ordered silence. "Continue the broadcast," he commanded. The video changed, showing a battlefield burning, buildings, smoke, and chaos. A small group of humans, dressed in strange, mismatched armor, were charging through the flames. One of them, a boy who couldn't have been more than 17 galactic years, carried 3 injured soldiers on his back. His skin was scorched, his hands bleeding, but he didn't stop. He screamed as he ran, but not in pain. He screamed in fury. Then he kicked open a door with pure rage and disappeared into the smoke. The footage changed again. Now it showed alien soldiers, heavily armored, well-trained, and equipped with energy rifles, fleeing. Behind them, humans moved like predators, silent and coordinated, using dirt and steel to overpower plasma and tech. It made no sense. By all logic, Earth should have fallen in minutes, but instead the Zarin unit had lost 90% of its force within a day, and not to weapons, but to what the captain called will. They didn't run. The captain's voice trembled. They didn't surrender. They smiled as they charged. They enjoyed it. They don't fear death. They treat war like sport. The screen froze on the face of a human girl, her face painted with mud and blood. She looked directly at the drone camera and held up 2 fingers. At first, some aliens thought it was a surrender signal, but the captain clarified in a whisper she was counting down. Moments later, the drone exploded. Ambassador Jaren from the Aurelius Hive slammed his mandibles together. "This cannot be real," he hissed. "They are a Class 0 species." Counselor Yuna from the Cathari Moon spoke next, her voice shaking. "If this is how they fight without proper training, what will they become when they learn from us?" The Speaker of the Council raised a hand. "I want confirmation," he ordered. "Send a scout team to Earth, quiet and fast. Do not engage." The council adjourned, but no one truly left in peace. They had watched dozens of worlds rise and fall. They had seen giants and fire breathers, creatures made of gas and light, but never had they seen something like this. On Earth, pain was not punishment, it was preparation. Fear wasn't weakness, it was fuel, and war wasn't the end. It was a challenge, a stage, an arena. The scout ship landed 2 cycles later, hidden deep in Earth's orbit. Commander Velkov, an expert in primitive world study, led the mission. He expected to find desperate survivors or broken warriors. What he found instead were people laughing, training, running, lifting, fighting for fun. No one forced them, they chose it. He recorded humans boxing in rings, wrestling in fields, racing through burning tires. One child had a broken arm but insisted on finishing a brutal climbing course. When asked why, she simply said, "My dad did it with 2 broken legs. I want to beat his record." Veloth couldn't believe it. They called these games. These near-death activities were entertainment, and their heroes not the smartest or richest, but the toughest, the boldest, the ones who didn't quit. He transmitted everything back to the council. The message was clear. Earth was not weak. Earth was a battlefield in disguise, and its people were born to fight. In the days that followed, more videos leaked. A human pulling a crashed shuttle out of fire to save strangers. Firefighter walking into an inferno with zero protection. A teacher shielding children during a school attack. Over and over again, humans stepped into danger with their fists clenched and eyes burning. It was no longer just a rumor, it was a warning. Earth didn't need to declare war. It was war. Every city, every school, every game, every hardship, which was all training. The Galactic Alliance met again in fear. And one ancient leader said the words, "No one wanted to admit, Earth is not just a planet," he whispered. "Earth is an arena, and the humans are its gladiators." Asterisk Earth's peaceful history was like a Manderville didn't believe in myths. He believed in data patterns and confirmed behavior. That's why he had laughed when he first read the human classification Class 0. In his report, he called Earth a mild survival zone with limited technology. He expected green valleys, calm oceans, maybe some confused governments fighting over land. What he didn't expect was what he saw next as the scout ship entered low orbit. Velcro scanned for military structures. He found nothing labeled as war centers. Instead, he found thousands of open buildings filled with lights and loud noise. No weapons detected. The drone reported only muscle activity. Curious, he ordered a ground infiltration. They landed at night in a place called Brazil, where a loud festival was happening. It was called Vale Tudo. Velkath assumed it was a ritual dance, a bonding event, until he saw a man smash his elbow into another man's jaw. The crowd roared, not in fear but in support. No one ran, no one panicked. They cheered. 2 humans fought in a cage, face to face, without armor, without lasers, just fists and bone. Loser fell, but still smiled as he got up. The winner lifted him with one arm and shouted into the sky, "I bleed today, so I don't kneel tomorrow." Velcroth stood frozen. "This is not war," he whispered. "This is joy." One of his lieutenants nodded. "It appears to be sport." In the following days, they visited Earth cities one by one. America, Japan, Kenya, Russia, India, Australia. Each place had its own version: boxing, wrestling, karate, parkour, fire runs, obstacle races, sword tournaments, and even simulated battlefields. It wasn't just for adults. Children trained too, and old men were honored for how many times they'd faced the fire. In one village, Velcroth watched an elderly woman break a thick board with her barefoot. When asked why she still trained at her age, she said, "To remind death I still have one punch left." This was not normal. Most species feared pain, avoided danger, and obeyed natural caution, but humans, they walked toward it, and not for survival but for challenge. Velcro dug deeper into their history. What he found shook him more than anything else. Their past was soaked in blood, yes, but it wasn't the amount of war that stunned him. It was how much humans evolved from it. Unlike other civilizations that collapsed after war. Humans grew, every great war left them. More united, more advanced, more determined. They lost cities, families, and entire generations, yet they came back stronger. One file in particular caught his attention. It was labeled World War II. Veloth watched old footage of fire raining from the sky, soldiers crawling through mud, civilians hiding underground. Yet after the war ended, the humans didn't break, they rebuilt. They started over, and within decades, they reach space. They see struggle as transformation. Veloth noted in his logs, they do not fear it. They need it. Even their education systems reflected this. In human schools, children were taught about failure and defeat, not to avoid them but to accept them, fight back and try again. Trophies were given for improvement, not just victory. One child's poster read, fall 7 times, stand up 8. No species had ever celebrated losing except humans. They made losing part of the journey. That made them dangerous because no matter how many times they were defeated, they always returned. Velkov's final mission was to observe one of Earth's military training centers. He entered a human boot camp hidden in a hologram suit. The soldiers ran under rain and lightning, crawling through mud, lifting other soldiers on their backs. One man fainted, the others carried him and kept running. Their commander shouted at them, pain is your friend, it means you're alive. They didn't argue, they screamed back, yes sir. Veloth watched in disbelief as one recruit with a broken leg refused to quit. He hopped for 3 miles using one leg and a stick. When he collapsed, the others lifted him up and shouted his name. In Velka's report he wrote, these are not warriors trained in war, these are warriors born from life. Their entire culture is a preparation for struggle. And the most shocking discovery, they didn't hate their enemies, they didn't need revenge to fight, they fought for purpose, for growth, for honor. Many species needed rage to fuel war. Humans didn't. They could smile while bleeding. They could cry and still punch back. They could lose and still win tomorrow. Back on the scout ship, Veloth looked at Earth one last time from orbit. He pressed the final log into the transmitter. Earth is not peaceful, he whispered. They are not savages either. They are something worse. They chose the fire and they dance in it every day. The human prisoners who didn't break in the far reaches of Sector 9. There was a pirate lord named Varno. He was feared across 12 systems, known for breaking prisoners faster than anyone in galactic history. He once made a Koran general scream within 5 hours. He made a Zarthian noble beg for mercy in 2, but when he captured 6 humans during a border skirmish, he expected them to fall within minutes. They did not. Varnik's ship, the Rainclaw, was a torture fortress, drifting in deep space. No escape, no communication, only pain. The humans were placed in separate cells, isolated, beaten, starved, and sleep-deprived, but still they refused to break. The first man, named Harris, was a former engineer. He spent his days scratching strange marks into the wall. The guards thought he was going mad, but he was carving out poetry, lines of hope, pain, and resistance, and every night he sang. It was not a song of sorrow, it was a war chant, soft at first but loud enough to reach the other cells. One by one the others joined in. A woman named Lay tapped rhythms against her cell bars. Another Big Tom slammed his chains and beat with Harris's voice Together they made noise. Together they made unity. Varn grew furious. He increased the pain injectors, turned up the heat, shut off water for 2 days. Yet the humans kept singing. One day the guards tried to drag Harris out for public punishment. He went limp, refused to walk, so Big Tom shouted from his cell, "If you hurt him, you'll have to deal with me next." The guards laughed. But even from chains, Big Tom stared like a beast ready to charge. A drone captured the footage and sent it to Varnek. He watched it 10 times and ordered a full mental scan. Find out why they're not afraid, he demanded. They're broken inside. I know it. The scan results arrived 2 hours later. The humans were not broken. They were focused. They had hope, strategy, and belief in one another. Lei had spent her time counting guard steps and memorizing door patterns. Tom was timing when the power dipped. Another Sasha used the metal spoon to sharpen a wire. Each one of them was preparing not to escape, but to overpower. That night, they coordinated without words. One spark, one signal, and then chaos. Sasha faked a seizure, luring the guards. When they opened the cell, she slammed one into the wall with her chain-wrapped fists. Lei slipped through the corridor and knocked out the lights. Big Tom used his chain as a whip, dragging 2 guards across the floor. The rest followed. No guns, no armor, just hands, teeth, and pure rage. They didn't run for the escape pods. They ran toward the control room. Within 7 minutes, they had full control of the Ren Claw. When Varnek tried to fight back, Harris appeared on the screen, smiling. "We're taking your ship now," he said calmly. "Thanks for the training." Varnek tried to flee, but Sasha caught him first. She didn't even hit him. She just stared at him until he dropped his weapon and curled into a corner. The Galactic Council received the distress beacon days later. The message was brief. It showed the humans standing tall in the command deck, surrounded by unconscious guards. Big Tom leaned into the camera and said just one word: run. Velcro still in orbit above Earth watched the footage with cold silence. These were untrained humans, he whispered. No military tech, no orders, just instinct. And yet they destroyed a veteran pirate crew with their bare hands. He paused the video and zoomed in on Harris's face. There was no anger, no joy, just calm focus. They don't fight for fun this time, Velk added. They fight to survive. And when survival depends on unity, humans become unbreakable. The council gathered again to review the footage. Many still believe the humans were lucky. Some claimed the pirates were weak, but the Cathari historians spoke up. I've studied over 300 species, he said. No species sings during torture. No species plans rescue from chains. Only humans do that, one elder murmured. Then they are not fighters. They are storms. They wait, they build. And when the time is right, they destroy. The room went quiet, not out of fear, but respect, because the truth was finally clear. The humans were never prisoners. They were contenders waiting for the gate to open. And once it did, they didn't walk through it. They charged. Risk. The experiment that failed. The Solex Empire prided itself on logic. They believed every species had a limit, a point where pain or fear would shut them down. For centuries they ran simulations, observed thousands of alien races, and perfected their behavioral models. And according to all their charts, humans were near the bottom, too emotional, too chaotic, too Unpredictable. The perfect species to test under pressure, so they built a quiet little experiment, a frozen world with zero communication, no power and no chance of escape. They selected 10 humans taken secretly from a stranded ship, not soldiers, not scientists, just civilians, a nurse, a teacher, janitor, a street fighter, a mother, and a few others. The Solex called it test. For 7H, the goal was to observe how quickly the humans would turn on each other, how long it would take before they broke. The drop was clean. The humans woke up in the middle of an ice field, the wind screaming across frozen plains, no food, no shelter, no weapons, only the clothes on their backs and a ticking clock. The Solex drones watched from above, invisible and silent. At first the humans panicked. They shouted, cried, argued. Then something unexpected happened. The nurse named Aisha stood up and clapped her hands. Arguing won't help, she said. Let's build something. Then others blinked, confused, but slowly they followed. The street fighter used his belt to carve blocks of ice. The janitor found a cave and suggested using body heat to stay warm. The teacher organized watches and ration plans, and the mother began singing to calm the younger ones. After one day, the humans had a fire going using friction and broken tech parts. After 2 days, they had a shelter made of bones and ice. After 3 days, they had weapon spears made from debris and sharpened metal. The Solex observers were baffled. They're adapting, one said. They're not attacking each other. They're forming a society. On day 5, a snowstorm wiped out one food stash. No one complained. They shared what little they had, and the street fighter even gave his meal to an older woman. I've been hungry before, he said with a grin. She needs it more. By day 7, they started tracking the sky drones. They didn't know what they were, but they knew something was watching. So the janitor crafted a mirror trap using ice and sunlight, and that's when the first drone went offline. The Solex Central Command went into emergency mode. The humans weren't just surviving, they were fighting back. No species has ever countered the drones, one analyst whispered. And they test, said another, but before they could pull the team, the second drone crashed into the snow. The humans dragged it back to camp. They didn't fear it, they studied it, and when they found the power core, they used it to heat their cave. That night the humans sat around the glowing core and laughed. Not because they had escaped, but because they had overcome. Not a single one of them asked to give up. Not one of them blamed the others. They became stronger with every hardship. The next day the Sox sent a retrieval team. They dropped in armed and ready to sedate the humans, but as they landed, they found something terrifying. The humans were already waiting, weapons in hand, standing in formation, eyes locked on the invaders. The mother stepped forward. We're not your toys, she said. The street fighter cracked his knuckles. You dropped us here to see us break, he growled. Now we'll show you what happens when you fail. The Solex team fled before contact. They were lucky because the humans didn't chase. They didn't. They had already won. The footage was sent directly to the Galactic Council. Veloth watched it in disbelief. These were untrained, ordinary people, he said, and yet they survived a planet meant to kill them. The Kathed ambassador leaned forward. No, they thrived, she corrected. They grew stronger under pressure. One of the Council members asked, why didn't they panic or surrender? Veloth replied, because humans don't just fight others. They fight the environment. They fight fear, hunger, cold, pain, and somehow they turn it into fuel. He paused the recording and stared at the frozen world on the screen. Then he said the words the council feared most. You cannot break them. You can only make them stronger, and every time you try to destroy them, you teach them how to win. Why aliens fear Humania. Of the Jethi was a master telepath. She could walk through minds like corridors, open secrets like books, and bend memories like paper. Her people had long served as mental interrogators and truth extractors for the Galactic Alliance. No one had ever resisted her, not a single being across the 23 known species. Until she met a human, the prisoner's name was Damon. He was quiet, calm, and chained inside a crystal chamber with anti-psychic shielding. Zarasha requested direct entry permission. This one will not break my mind, she said. He's just flesh and fire like all the others, they warned her. He stared too long, one guard said. He doesn't blank, said another. Sasha smiled and entered the chamber. Damon didn't move. He just looked at her, eyes steady, jaw relaxed as if waiting. Sasha sat down and opened her mind. At first she felt the usual signs, layers of memory, pieces of childhood, laughter, pain, fear. She pushed deeper, trying to find the core. But the deeper she went, the darker it became. She found no fear, only images. A war zone, a crumbling building, Damon holding a wounded friend with blood all over his shirt. But that wasn't the part that froze her. It was what came next. Damon had set his own leg while being shot at and smiled through the pain. Zarasha recoiled slightly but pushed. Again, she passed through images of loss, his father's funeral, a failed mission, a ruined home. Still the mind remained stable. No cracks, no breaks. Just layers of control. Then she reached something else, something cold, a battlefield of the mind, soldiers cheering after losing comrades, a woman laughing while carrying a burning flag, a boy standing over a dying alien, whispering, I'm sorry, but I have to. When Sasha started sweating, this wasn't just memory, it was will, a fire that couldn't be smothered. She tried to disconnect, but something pulled her back in. Suddenly Damon looked directly at her, but not with his outer eyes. Inside the memory world, inside her mind space, he was aware. Did you find what you were looking for? He whispered. Zarasha gasped and fell back physically, her chair toppling. Her nose bled, her claws trembled, her head throbbed like it had been punched. The guards rushed in, but she waved them away. She stood, her voice shaky but steady. I'm done, she said. No more. Back in the council chamber, the report was read aloud. Zarasha had written only a few lines. Do not enter human minds. They do not build walls to keep us out. They leave the door open and then watch us panic. Inside, Velk reviewed the footage himself, the moment where Damon's mind met Zarasha's. His eyes didn't change, but something shifted. It was like being stared at by something older than pain. Humans weren't stronger, faster, or more intelligent than other species, but their spirit, the fire behind their eyes, was different. It didn't burn hot like rage. It burned deep like purpose. It was patient, watching, waiting, calculating, and most of all, unshakable. Other species fought to survive. Humans fought to remember, to honor, to protect, to grow. They didn't need anger to become violent. They could cry and still fight. They could break and still rebuild. They could lose everything and still look you in the eyes. That is what scared Zarasha, not the memories of blood or fire, not the screams or the battles, but the calm, the terrifying calm in his soul. After that event, the Jethri refused all human scans. Their queen declared, "We will not walk through fire while pretending it is rain." The Galactic Council realized something even more dangerous. It wasn't just their bodies or minds, it was their gaze. Humans looked at their enemies, not with hatred, but with understanding. They studied, they adapted, and then, when the time came, they acted without mercy. In the end, Zarasha requested retirement, not because she was injured, but because every time she closed her eyes, she saw his asterisk, Earth's darkest secret. They want the fight. The Galactic Council had gathered in full force, not to debate trade or territory, but for one single agenda: what should be done about Earth. Dozens of species had submitted reports, and every one of them ended with the same warning: they are not safe to leave alone. They are not safe to provoke. They are not what we thought. Some called for containment, others for communication. Few even whispered the word. No one wanted to say elimination. But before a decision could be made, Earth responded. They didn't send a fleet or a threat. They sent a video. It was short, a compilation of footage from across their planet, a boxer with broken ribs raising his arms in victory, firefighter walking out of a burning house with 2 children in his arms, a soldier dragging 3 wounded friends across a battlefield while bullets flew past him. The video ended with a single message, white text across a black screen: "We are the arena and we welcome all challengers." The chamber fell silent, even the warborn species like the brawl shifted nervously in their seats. It wasn't a threat, it was an invitation, and that made it worse. Veloth stood to speak. "They don't want war because they hate us," he said. "They want it because they crave the test. They grow through challenge. They are not content in comfort. Peace is a pause to them, not a destination." He played more footage: an old human with 1 arm teaching young fighters how to defend themselves, a blind girl in a tournament dodging attacks by sound alone, a man with no legs winning a climbing contest using only his arms and sheer will. The Cathari ambassador leaned forward. "They train pain like others train muscle," she whispered. "They chase it, shape it, own it." More disturbing news followed. Humans had begun entering galactic tournaments. They weren't supposed to, but they found loopholes. Some joined mixed species teams, others were sponsored by curious warlords, and they won over and over. A man named Elias defeated the Yaren 4-limbed champion using only footwork and timing. Teenage girl named Riina disarmed beast twice her size with no weapon. Childrenly endured more pain in a stamina test than any adult alien on record. They weren't using advanced tech, they weren't cheating, they were simply better. Not in power, but in refusal to quit. That's when the Council realized the truth. Earth wasn't just dangerous because of its past, it was dangerous because of its belief. The belief that pain was sacred, that challenge was holy, that fighting truly fighting revealed something pure. One old Terran saying spread across the Alliance: "A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor," but humans weren't just sailors anymore. They were the storm Veloth's final report shook the chamber. They don't just survive hardship, he said. They seek it, they don't run from the fire, they walk into it to see if they can come out stronger. And the most dangerous ones, he asked, they're not angry, they're not cruel, they're calm. They're focused, they treat pain like a friend and fear like a teacher. He paused before the last words. They don't just endure the arena, they built it. They are it back on Earth. The people didn't know they had terrified the stars. They weren't watching the council. They were too busy training, building, competing, pushing themselves. Not for war, but for mastery. In a jungle, a one-legged veteran taught orphans how to track predators. In a city, a girl with burned hands played piano to strengthen her fingers again. In the snow, a boy practiced holding his breath longer every day. No one told them to do it, they simply wanted to. And that was Earth's darkest secret. They didn't need a reason to fight. They didn't need revenge, hatred, or conquest. They fought because it made them better, because it made them more alive, because to them the fight itself was sacred. The galactic shift. Humans are now feared. The stars no longer slept easy. What began as curiosity had turned into fear. What was once dismissed as a primitive world was now spoken of only in quiet whispers. Earth had changed the way the galaxy saw war, not because of its weapons, but because of its people. The galactic arena, once a spectacle of elite warriors from 100 systems, now had a new legend. And it wasn't a six-armed brute, or a psychic queen, or a beast with fire-breathing skin. It was a human. Her name was Kira Darnell. Small, calm, quiet. She walked into the arena barefoot, her hands bandaged, her eyes steady. No armor, no sponsor, no fanfare, just resolve. Her opponent towered over her 8 feet tall, covered in biosteel, wielding twin blades that could cut through tanks. The match should have ended in seconds, but it didn't. Kira danced. She weaved, dodged, endured. She let herself get knocked down again and again, and each time she stood back up, bleeding, breathing, focused. She didn't fight with rage, she fought with rhythm. Every hit she took was used to learn her enemy's pattern, and when the time came, she moved like lightning. 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3. The champion dropped unconscious before he hit the floor. The entire arena went silent. Even the crowd of bloodthirsty species who usually roared at violence sat in awe, not because she won, but because she didn't flinch, not once. The broadcast spread across the stars, from pirate dens to royal courts, from asteroid prisons to academic halls. Every species that watched began to reevaluate their charts, their threat scales, their combat rankings, and most of all, their understanding of humans. In every corner of the galaxy, the words echoed, Earth is not a planet, Earth is not a home, Earth is an arena, and the humans are the gladiators. Military recruiters from the Balkan Empire began studying human psychology. The Zarnax Hive postponed their invasion project indefinitely. Even the cold, emotionless Sox began building new simulations based on human resistance. They still didn't understand why humans fought so well, but they all agreed on one thing: you don't want to fight a human unless you have no other choice. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the speaker stood before a new agenda. The proposal was simple: to officially declare Earth a combat culture, a classification given to only one other species in recorded history, but that species had destroyed Itself, humans, however, were still. Standing, still training, still moving. Forward, Veloth was present when they vote passed. He had seen it all, watched. The boy run into fire, the prisoner rise from chains, the girl defeated a giant without hate. He stood now not to warn but to honor. They have earned our fear, he said, but more than that, they have earned our respect. Across the stars, alien parents began telling their children ancient bedtime lessons. Stories of monsters, of heroes, of warriors. Now a new name was added. The Terran. The ones who smile when wounded. The ones who grow stronger with every defeat. The ones who do not stop in the dark of space. An old pirate captain removed Earth from his list of raid targets. A mercenary tore down a poster offering human bounties. A warlord asked his advisor quietly, what happens when the humans stop preparing for defense and start aiming for the stars? No one had an answer, but everyone feared the day it came, because Earth had already declared it, not through threats or fire, but through blood, grit, and willpower. The universe had arenas of steel and sand, but Earth's arena was life itself. Its people were forged in failure, tested in fire, and crowned not by kings but by survival. And somewhere on a rooftop in a rain-soaked city, a young human was shadow boxing alone. No cameras, no crowd, no war, just sweat, breath, and the rhythm of his fists. He wasn't training for a tournament. He wasn't even angry. He was just preparing, because deep in the heart of every human they knew the truth. The fight never ends.